Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wei and Kathy Show, and I'm your host, Wei Fang. And today we'll be talking about a few things. First is the federal gas tax exemption. Will that happen, and what's behind that? And the midterm election just in the 4 states was over the day before, and then we have a particular issue, a particular battle, primary battle between a young lady of a 40-year-old versus a pretty well-known conservative representative, and his name is Mong Brooks. And what is the story there? And the third one has to do with the title that I put in the thumbnail on the photo of today's show, which has to do with what are the 5 hard decisions that the Supreme Court face in its remaining time, which is literally within 2 weeks. Okay, so if you like our show, please click the like and making sure you stay subscribed and helping in the algorithm, propagate this show to more people. All right, as I said, told you before, Kathy's still on the road. She's moving, so today we'll be Wei Fang along, reporting to you the news that we think is worthy for you to know. Okay, first, the national average gasoline price climbed over $5, per gallon at one point last week. That was a record-breaking thing, but hey, for people like us in California or New York, $5 is nothing. Well, we have reached $7, even $8, sometimes $9. So President Joe Biden expects to call on the Congress to suspend the federal gas tax for the first 3 months in order to combat the rapid rise in the fuel price, especially in the driving season of the summer. And Biden will also ask state governments to suspend their state gas tax in order to provide some relief to the public, according to the White House. As you know, on a federal level, the federal tax on the gas is about 18 cents per gallon, while the federal tax on the diesel stands at 24 cents per gallon. All right, and the money was collected for road construction. That's indeed the purpose there. And then now, with the rapid rise of the gas price, the administration is more worried about the sentiment of the people, and they also ask refineries to do more to lower the price and not to make a big profit there. Anyway, but experts said the refineries are even more constrained now. So the supply is nearly fully inelastic. Most of the 18 cents reduction could be pocketed by the industry, by the refineries or by the gas station. So maybe only a few cents would pass on to the consumers. So like on the state level, let's talk about state level. State level, Texas collect 20 cents per gallon on the gas tax, and New York's 29 cents. California, just guess how much? 51 cents. All right. So at this time, Biden pretty much attributed the gas price hike to the Russian war in Ukraine, and that's his the reason. The second one, he called out the oil and the gas companies and saying that they are not doing enough to bring down the cost and accuse them of profiting off the war. So that incurred some response right away. The Chevron CEO, Mike Wirth, yesterday wrote an open letter to Biden, and he said, your administration has largely sought to criticize and at times vilify our industry. He said you should stop criticizing the oil and the gas industry and he said he called for a change in the approach by the White House. And Biden was saying that somebody is sensitive. I didn't expect they respond so quickly. But anyway, that's the exchange that's happening. And as you know, as gas price rise above $5, what good would they, like 18 cents do? Especially the refinery along the way and the gas station, they could pocket them. So it's just a very little change. And in terms of what's the real cure for the gas price, which is actually the triggering factor for all the general price hike, the inflation, we've already talked about that. So we'll not repeat it again, but I just want to share with you that Biden's point of view. And actually, as a matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi did not respond. So the Congress, the House is not taking his ball and is set on the schedule and set the schedule on that. No, there's no response. All right. Anyway, that's what happened to the Biden in terms of how to deal with the inflation. Okay, actually earlier they did admit that there's not much to do. All right, and then this is federal gas tax exemption. Even if it happened, it's not much to do either. Okay, talking about the Tuesday election and primary. I'm sorry, but the primary. There's one particular primary battle between in the state of Alabama that's worth talking about. So Alabama's senior, Senator Richard Shelby, and is about to retire. Okay, and consider Alabama is a red state, it's a very red state, and the primary winner from the GOP, chances are, will become the next senator, succeeding Richard Shelby. And then what are the two contenders? One is a young lady, Katie Brit. Okay, she was born in 1982, so she's a 40-year-old. And if she were to win this primary, and then the general election in November, she will become the youngest female senators in the U.S. Senate, and it looks like that will be will be the case. Okay. However, so before the election and last year, former President Trump and endorsed her opponent, whose name is Mo Brooks. You probably remember the name. He was pretty strong after the 2020 election in those two, few turbulent months, and he stood by Trump's side and supported him, and it seems they are a very strong ally. Okay, indeed, Trump initially endorsed him. And Mo Brooks is also a founding member of the Freedom Caucus in the House. And then, however, in the August, in late March, Trump issued a statement saying that the staff, saying that Mo Brooks made some speech in the August of 2021, saying that Republicans should not pay more attention to the 2020 election and should move on. And Mo Brooks himself said, now it's time to focus on the 2022 and the 2024. And so he spoke those in the Trump rally. And I don't know how you think about his word. Even it seems it's basically I think what he had in mind, but he was really booed by the audience. And Trump issued a statement in late March saying that his staff has outstandingly convinced Mo Brooks to stop talking about the 2020 election, and he followed their advice. So Trump said, since you changed your direction, and I will do so too. So Trump rescinded his endorsement of Mo Brooks in March, and then in May, he turned and endorsed his opponent, Katie Brit. And then now, who is Katie Brit? Okay, because seems to be, by very big chance, she will become the youngest female senators in the U.S. Senate. So I think it's worth a few minutes. So actually, after she graduated from college in 2004, she joined Senator Shelby's team and became her deputy press secretary. Just 1 year later, he became the press secretary. So after altogether 3 years, she left, went to private business, also become a special assistant of the president of the University of Alabama. All right, so her experience is quite rich. And then later she went back to help Senator Richard Shelby to win his re-election. And then in 2016, she became the chief of staff for Senator Shelby. And then later, she became the CEO of the Business Council of Alabama. Okay, the first female CEO of that business council. So he supported Trump's agenda very much. So Trump called him a fearless American first warrior. All right. So because of that, then the brush with Mo Brooks, Trump endorsed Katie Brit, and she won the primary, the primary final, on Tuesday. So and she won big. So quite a bit, by big margin. So we'll see. This young lady, chances are, will be moved on to the U.S. Senate. We'll see what she will be doing. We can pay attention to that. Okay, now let's talk about the Supreme Court. The five tests or five hard decisions Supreme Court is facing. Actually, with only less than 2 weeks, in remaining in this session, the justice will be going home and they'll close the session. The next one will be in October. All right. So there are 18 cases on the table waiting to be ruled upon. And among them, five are especially difficult or controversial or worth talking about. Okay. Of course, among the five, if I ask you, guess what are they? You probably would figure out the Dobbs versus Jackson, the Mississippi case, the ruling of which most likely would upend the Roe v. Wade. Okay, in 1973. So let's put that aside. What are the other four? All right. So let's talk about in the state of Washington, okay, to the west of Seattle. And then there's a small town called Bremerton, okay. At the Bremerton High School, there's a football coach. His name is Joseph Kennedy. All right. So after each game or the training, he would recite the post-game prayers at the 50-yard line. All right. Then he's been just doing that. And however, at a certain point, an opposing coach brought this to the principal's attention. And then later, Bremerton School District told Coach Kennedy to stop doing that. And he did. All right. He stopped. Only temporarily. Then later he notified the school that he would resume the practice. So that, the conflict or the controversy caught a lot of media attention, even national media attention. Then, because he insisted on doing that, so he lost his job. So he sued the Bremerton School District. And the lawsuit went all the way to the Supreme Court. And then his basis is his First Amendment right to freedom of speech and a free exercise of the religion is violated. And how did the Bremerton School District defend itself? They also cited the First Amendment and that a prayer for a public school employee run afoul of the First Amendment's Establishment Clause. What is the Establishment Clause? As we know that the First Amendment, have two provisions concerning religion. Okay, the original text is saying that the federal government shall make no law, to establish a religion or to forbidden the free practice of religion. That's essentially the thing. So the first part is the Establishment Clause. The second half is called the Free Exercise Clause. So establishment basically means the government body and cannot establish religion. And the second one is that we all understand, the free exercise. So Kennedy, actually, let me tell you about what happened on the game field. He initially began the practice of reciting a post-game prayer by himself. But eventually students, began to join him. And according to the court documents, this later evolved into a motivational speech that included religious themes. All right. And the attorney said there's no evidence of coercion in this record. So it seems that both sides, they have their own reasonings. The coach said he has his freedom to practice the religion that he believes in. And the school district said, the school as an employee, he cannot establish a religion by doing that. So how would the Supreme Court rule? Let's guess. All right. So before we talk about the answer, let's roll back the clock to 1992. All right. So in that very year, for those of you who are long enough around, it was the first major school prayer case decided by the then Supreme Court. Okay. The case is called the Lee versus Wiseman. Okay. And the ruling held that the school may not sponsor clerics to conduct even denominational prayer. All right, because then there's a series of rulings against the prayer at school. So basically, they cited the separation of state and the church. And then now, since then on, the Bible in school, prayer in classroom, or on the sports field become minefield, like this one. So it's a very difficult thing for a Christian to practice his belief, at or near or around the school, okay, because of those 1992 ruling. So you would say that for Joseph Kennedy, would he have any chance to win? So before we answer that, let's talk about something happened on Monday again. Okay, Monday. So on that day, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3. Okay, not on Monday, on Tuesday, that a Maine tuition assistant program violated the First Amendment's free exercise clause for excluding religious school from eligibility. Okay, so basically, Maine have this, state sponsored tuition assistant program. So if a particular student live in a remote area, cannot have access to the public school, and he chose to go to private school, this program will subsidize that. But as long as the funding is not used for religious or sectarian teaching, all right. So, okay, so that program was, people, took it to the court and brought that all the way to the Supreme Court. And on Tuesday, Supreme Court ruled, and here's the ruling. Okay, Justice John Roberts wrote in the court's opinion. He said the Maine's non-sectarian requirement for its otherwise generally available tuition assistance payment violates the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. All right, so it's a ruling saying that the school is wrong. Okay. And even it's used for religious or sectarian teaching, and that they should not discriminate against religion. Even 2 years ago, okay, in the state of Montana, there's another case which is just like a church, church institution, whether they can receive state funding. Okay, in that case, it's not about religious teaching. Okay, it's just a religious institution, whether they can receive state funding. And the ruling at that time by the same court also said yes. Okay, so you see, in the most two recent, there's this different ruling. The ruling that's quite different from the 1992 Lee versus Wiseman. All right, so looking at today, so how would the Supreme Court rule in the next 1 week or two on the Joseph Kennedy case? Yeah, what do you think? So yesterday in my Chinese show, I talked about this. What's the meaning of the separation of church and state? I just very briefly said it here, and see whether you agree with me. Okay, the separation of church of school is after the founding fathers. Okay, they realized that if the state is bound to a religion, and then the power of the state would push that religion and force everyone to go their way. And if they don't, they may face persecution. And the running away persecution is, where is why the Mayflower, the Mayflower people just came to this new continent, because they do want to run away from the religious persecution. So because of that reason, in the First Amendment, they wrote this establishment clause, the meaning of which is the government cannot establish or force a particular religion upon the people. Okay, but it does not mean at all the government cannot support or advocate the religion. As a matter of fact, all the founding fathers, they are Christians, and they time and again they said religion and belief is the founding rock of the Republic of the United States of America. So actually earlier, and now these days, if you can you just borrow a courtroom, a room of the court building as a book reading, the Christian book reading session? You probably won't be able to do that. But in early days, that was a common practice, because for the Christian gathering events, it's hard to find a place, and the court is often empty at night or during the weekend. So actually, the judges lend their court to the church-going people, and that's what's quite common. Actually, the founding father or the constitutional writers, they encourage and advocate religion. They just say that the government shall not bind with a particular religion, and push it that way, and force everybody along with it. That's what they are trying to guard against. They are not saying that the public school, the court, the government body should stay very far, far, far away from religion or belief, right? So that's really a misreading of the Constitution and the First Amendment. So, but nowadays, this is what happened. They basically, the defense, the Bremerton school district is saying that this coach having everybody, pray with him, and somebody probably will be afraid to speak out. He doesn't want to pray, but he's afraid that he may lose his score if he doesn't follow along, just because of that, unsubstantiated worry or concern. And then this coach was evicted from the school. Is that fair? But this is a common practice, okay? I talked to you about how the American communism work. It's similar to how they work in China, but in different format. They really take advantage of people's kindness, all right? So because you are sympathetic to a poor kid who may, dare not to bring this up. I don't want to pray, okay? I'm not a Christian, okay? And just out of that sympathy, that kindness, then they go to the extreme and abolish the entire pray activity, thing in the school. Okay, same thing. For the reason of somebody will feel uncomfortable, and they have to let transgender people to go to girls' restroom, because somebody don't feel comfortable. There shall be, we should allow the same-sex marriage, and because somebody doesn't feel comfortable, then we should allow marijuana or the other, drug injection and things like that. Because the young criminal will feel uncomfortable, so we need to be lenient with them, so on and so forth. Okay, in the name of doing good, in the name of being kind, they basically just subvert all the tradition that we have, all the rule we have, that we live by, including moral values. So yeah, this is the same thing, and that very excuse, that sympathy, okay, quote unquote sympathy, is the same thing that communist China, okay, used back in the 1930 and 1940s. They said the landlord are really evil people. They mistreat farmers, so you are wronged. Okay, you are persecuted. You need to revolt. You need to have uprising. You need to fight and take their property. And how many cases of those landlords are just systematically, vicious or cruel with their farmers? They cannot even find any. So they make up cases, and then they just through their propaganda machine, they push it around and push it into every corner of China, and creating that kind of hatred. And that hatred is the fuel for them to build their army, build their following, build their troops to usurp the power of China. That's how China fell. So similar situation here, okay? So we shall be very, very vigilant, in my opinion. And when we see things like this, let's hope that the Supreme Court would make a good ruling and continue from what they did on Tuesday and what they did 2 years ago, and it maybe eventually go back to the 1992 ruling, the Lee versus Wiseman case. All right. So there are 3 other cases, big decisions, and I don't have enough time to go over them. We can do that at next time. But as I said, just within 10 days, these 5 major decisions, including the one of the Dobbs and versus Jackson, right, of Mississippi, that ruling could just upend Roe v. Wade. So the whole country is hold its breath on that. All right, so that's all for tonight. And thank you very much for staying with Wei. And Kathy will be joining Wei a few days later. And I wish you have a very good rest of the night. And I will see you again on Friday. Yes. Thank you very much. Take care.